Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to me, your host, Christian Watson. So, I'm sure many of you have heard that Gina Carano, the actress who played Cara Dune on The Mandalorian, and I'm a big Star Wars fan, so I love shows like The Mandalorian. I love the concepts behind those shows. Actually, I remember being young and watching Star Wars: The Clone Wars in earnest, and watching its spinoff, its inferior spinoff, in my opinion, Star Wars Rebels, and just loving every moment of it. I have several Star Wars comic books in my room somewhere. I love George Lucas's mind, the creation that he made, and how it's just germinated into something much more beautiful and much more interactive. So when I heard about this, initially I didn't want to cover it because I thought, well, this is just some actor saying some wild thing, and I'm not sure what she even said. I'm just going to dismiss it because I'm trying to make sure I can give you guys content that's going to be valuable to you. It's why I'm not covering impeachment, because impeachment right now is not valuable to anyone. If you understand that the premise is false and the conclusion will necessarily be false, the impeachment becomes entirely irrelevant and immaterial to any of our lives. But apparently a lot of people are being affected by this. And the more I look into this, the more disgusted I am. And now I see a lot of conservative personalities saying, oh, this is cancel culture, or, oh, this is glaring hypocrisy, because there is another man on the set of The Mandalorian who has said a lot of very incendiary left-wing remarks, and where is Disney? And, oh, Disney is doing things in the Xinjiang region of China where the Uyghurs are being exterminated and ethnically cleansed, and that shows that Disney is bad as a whole. But in my opinion, these arguments, while very important, simply restate what any right-leaning conscience knows or has known if they've been politically active. These arguments simply state everything that is accessible to us in the public sphere. Emanuel Swedenborg, who was a mystic, who many philosophers integrate as crazy and wild, and I guess that's an okay integration, but I think even the most craziest among us have some valuable thoughts. Emanuel Swedenborg said that there is an arcana to knowledge. There's sort of hidden aspect of knowledge that we have to explore if we're going to understand the totality of meaning, the totality of existence, the totality of the world. And so even if you exclude everything else that Swedenborg said, that statement right there is something that we can all benefit from, especially in such an oversaturated political environment such as ours. We understand that hypocrisy is a double-edged sword that is oftentimes used to strike at right-ward minds in certain industries. It's no secret that Hollywood is dominated by a bunch of left-wing ideologues. Hell, I talked to Scott Baio recently. Scott Baio, one of my favorite TV actors. Scott Baio has been dealing with this pretension his entire life. In his 60s now, he is still being denied spots because of his political beliefs. So I understand that there's hypocrisy in Hollywood. That's not new to me. I understand that cancel culture is a real phenomenon. That's not new to me. I understand that the mob has been emboldened and accentuated throughout this digital era with the death of the literary mind, the death of our ability to process things in depth, the death of our ability to read books and engage with concepts earnestly and honestly and not through subjective criteria, the death of our ability to sit down and actually shut up for a while and think and turn off the music, turn off the TV and think. I understand that. But there's something else that Gina Carano and her story represent that no one's talking about. A complete and utter lack of introspection. There is a root at the cause of every problem, my friends. I don't care if it's cancel culture. I don't care if it's hypocrisy. I don't care if it's anger. I don't care if it's hate. There is a root cause, a root principle, a driving force behind every single problem. Every single one. Not a single thing in this earth has no root cause. Everything has a root cause. Your existence has a root cause, whatever that is. The existence of my computer that I'm talking to you right now has a root cause. It went from an idea in the abstract mind of an engineer to physical form. The root cause of this cancel culture stuff, the root cause of Gina Carano even being able to have gotten fired, is simply a lack of introspection on the part of her aggressors. What do I mean? Here was the post in question that Gina Carano made that made everyone upset. She actually shared this post on our Instagram story. It reads, Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. This is true. Look up Crystal Knock. One of the most despicable, inhumane instances of rights violations in history. Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is it that any different from hating someone for their political beliefs or political views, as the post says? See, Gina Carano was tapping in to the first principles of this issue. The ancient Greeks had a word, first principles of philosophy. Aristotle called it first philosophy. The problem is we have deviated so much from first principles that most oftentimes, a friend of mine said this to me recently, people begin with positions and they reason backward and they make ad hoc propositions to justify those positions without actually confirming the premise first to make sure their foundation is good. The problem with the left today is not that they are just canceling people, it's that they are canceling their own ability to think critically. They are canceling their own ability to see their own flaws. They are canceling their own ability to come down from the mountaintop and go to the fields and actually see what's going on in the world. They're canceling their own ability to connect with the abstract. They're canceling their own ability to engage honestly with the politics and political entities like Miss Carano was in that moment she shared this post on Instagram. Because guess what? The point in this post, as many have pointed out, was not that people were going to get genocided. Was that if you dehumanize someone, it makes it easier to commit atrocities. But I think there's another point in this post that's even just as more poignant. If you are not able to see your own dirt, if you are not able to see your own flaws, and you project the flaws of the world and the imperfections of the world onto your political opponents, you have thereby killed your ability to live a meaningful life. The meaningful life, as Socrates said, is an examined life. A life where you are constantly questioning, but also affirming. A life where you're testing things out, but also settling with things. A life that is, as Whitman said, is full of multitudes. A life that confirms your duty to be the best individual you can be in conjunction with your individual rights, in conjunction with your natural freedom. A life that is set on a foundation, a strong foundational premise built upon very specific and clear principles, not built upon this lived experience nonsense, not built upon this subjectivism nonsense, not built upon this relativism nonsense, not built upon all these nonsensical ideas that offer you no stability and no stable nucleus, as Solzhenitsyn would say, to get through the struggles of life. How are you going to handle the struggles of life if you cannot even look inward? Gina Carano's story, you cheapen it by saying it's cancel culture. It's more than that. It's a mass cultural psychosis which blinds us from our own flaws, which blinds the left from their own flaws. Now, this psychosis can happen on the right as well. And if I'm lucky, it will happen to me eventually. Even though I am a conservatarian, I have conservative and libertarian values, I will say something that people will get mad at. And people will try to cancel me. I know. But guess what? Emerson said, there is nothing at last sacred but the sanctity of man's own mind. My mind, my conscience is sacred, baby. I'm living for God. I'm living for higher principles. I'm living for duty. I'm living for freedom. I'm living for virtue. I'm living for that kind of stuff. The question is, what are you living for? What are the left-leaning agitators who are going after Carano? What are they living for? Introspection is dying here, my friends. Introspection is getting maimed here, my friends. It's not just cancel culture. It's not just hypocrisy. Stop cheapening things. Look at the principles. Look at the deeper foundations of things. And maybe then you'll be able to avoid the same flaws that produce this kind of vile, putrid, punitive behavior that Carano and others are facing and have faced for decades. Think about it. As always, my friends, I love you, and please stay pensive. Hey guys, if you enjoy this message, please be sure to support my channel through PayPal. My PayPal is @officialcwatson, as you see on the screen. Any amount helps. Thank you so much, and stay pensive.